What's up, guys? Joseph Torres here, aka Reanimate Existence, and I have another news video today with you guys. And a lot of people have talked about this, and I thought I'd put in my own 2 cents on this whole fiasco, I guess you can call it. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss have exited their Star Wars trilogy. Now, if you guys don't know who Benioff and Weiss are, they were the two guys behind Game of Thrones, which I'm sure like 3 people have seen. You might have watched it here and there. It was a semi-popular show. I digress. Game of Thrones is a huge show. Loved the first 4 seasons. Wasn't a fan of the last 4 seasons. But back in February 2018, it was announced they were going to do a Star Wars trilogy. They were going to, after this current trilogy ends with Rise of Skywalker that's going on right now, they were in 2022 going to start a brand new trilogy. Now, we didn't know what it was going to be about, who were the characters, what was the setting. We didn't know anything about it. I know a lot of people wanted it to be based around the Old Republic, which that might have been interesting. I mean, if I wanted any kind of trilogy, I wanted it to be based around the Old Republic, but it doesn't seem like we're getting it, as it has been revealed the other day, or I don't know what, I'm not sure when this news came out. I think it might have been yesterday, that both Benioff and Weiss have exited Star Wars and will no longer be working on the next trilogy that was supposed to start in 2022. Some of the information I'm reading right now comes from Deadline. This is a statement from them. "We love Star Wars," the pair said in a statement to Deadline. "When George Lucas built it, he built us too. Getting to talk about Star Wars with him when the current Star Wars team was a thrill of a lifetime, and we will always be indebted to the saga that changed everything." But as they go on, as the article goes on, according to the two of them, they are a little too busy for Star Wars, because apparently they also have a 9-picture deal with Netflix. Now, I just want to point something out to you guys. A 9-picture deal with Netflix. That's a lot. Like, I know it doesn't sound like much, but 9 whole films, that is that can be a pretty hefty schedule, whether it's a TV show or a movie. It just seems like these guys have a lot on their plate, and they just felt like they just couldn't commit to Star Wars. Now, I've seen some varied opinions about this, like, "Oh man, this is, I was looking forward to this. They were gonna make Star Wars into their own Game of Thrones. It was gonna be Game of Thrones level. It was gonna get serious and adult, and there was gonna be a bunch of titties and stuff." I'll be honest with you guys. I am completely okay with them not doing a Star Wars trilogy. But here's why. I'll be honest with you guys. I was not a fan of those last 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. Season 8 was absolutely horrid, because by then the show had just because they stopped following the books after the 4th season, and from like seasons 5 through 8, the show had basically become a fan fiction, and those guys clearly love the ever loving fuck out of Jon Snow. I can't stand Jon Snow, but these are the guys who turned Game of Thrones into a fan fiction. And it kind of makes me wonder, and it kind of makes you think, did we really want these guys to turn Star Wars into a bigger fan fiction than it already is? And say what you want about the current state of Star Wars, this just seems like more bad news from Star Wars. It just feels like Lucasfilm can never keep writers or directors or anything. And this isn't the first time this has happened. We had Colin Trevorrow leave episode 9, which, based on his work, that might not have been too bad of a decision. Lord and Miller left Solo halfway through filming, and the finished product we got wasn't terrible, but I feel like the Lord and Miller version would have been 10 times better based on the content Lord and Miller put out, like the Lego movie and Into the Spider-Verse, a movie that I love. I love Into the Spider-Verse. If you say anything negative about Into the Spider-Verse, you are completely never allowed opinions on anything ever. But I feel like the Lord and Miller solo project would have been better than what Ron Howard gave us. And of course, there were other things, like there was supposed to be a Boba Fett movie directed and written by James Mangold, who did Logan, and I think Simon Kinberg was also going to be a co-writer. I'm not sure. I might have to look into that and make sure if he is. But yeah, man, this just feels like Lucasfilm just can't seem to get their shit together when it comes to Star Wars. And it shows with this trilogy, man. Like this current Star Wars trilogy we've had, even though I think the movies individually aren't bad, as a trilogy, they're just a mess. You know, J.J. Abrams, you know, say what you want about him. When he first did Episode 7, he had an outline of how this trilogy was going to go down, only for Episode 8 to show up and Rian Johnson's like, yeah, I'm just going to throw this out the window and do whatever I want. And I actually like The Last Jedi. This is coming from someone who liked The Last Jedi. And it's just kind of sad that, you know, Lucasfilm just doesn't... It just feels like Lucasfilm, the company who has been handling Star Wars from the get-go, it just doesn't really feel like they know what they're doing anymore. And that's not to say there aren't good things that are coming out of Star Wars right now. You know, obviously, The Mandalorian looks like it's going to be fan-fucking-tastic. And I'm pretty certain that this upcoming brand new season of the Clone Wars is going to be great. And as far as video games are concerned, Battlefront 2 has become actually kind of playable. It's what I use for my commentary videos. And honestly, I'm really considering getting Jedi Fallen Order. But, you know, despite all this negativity, there is some positives coming out of Star Wars. I just wish there was more positive stuff coming out of Star Wars. But it makes me ask the question, you know, now that Weiss and Benioff are out of Star Wars, what are we going to get after Rise of Skywalker? Because I did see that Disney and Lucasfilm had 3 other Star Wars movies planned after Rise of Skywalker. One for 2022, one for 2024, and another for 2026. And I'm not sure if one of those was a Weiss Benioff Star Wars project or all 3 of them were going to be that trilogy. But now that they're gone, where does it leave those films? You know, this is something that we'll have to wait and see on. Oh, and of course, speaking of positives, the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be cool. But, you know, anyway, it just seems like as far as movies are concerned, Star Wars is in an interesting state now that Benioff and Weiss are gone. But let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comments, your thoughts, your opinions. Keep the discussion civil. Or if you don't, whatever. I don't really care. But try to keep it civil. Just try to keep it civil, you guys. I'm Joseph Torres, a.k.a. Reanimate Existence, and I am signing off.